again to Ladies' Night. This is the end of May, so gosh, I don't even remember what day this will air, but
I don't know.
May 28th.
is it May 28th? That's supposed to be
Yeah.
I guess. So we are at the end of May. Things are loosening up a little bit, thank goodness. So
Unless you live in Michigan.
Really?
oh,
They're
yeah.
not.
They're on a stay-at-home order till June 12th still.
Oh, wow.
They keep extending it.
Oh my goodness.
My mom loves her life.
Because she can't
That
get
is
out.
rough. Oh.
Yeah.
So, for all you in Michigan, we're sorry. We hope your life gets back to normal sometime.
So it could be worse, Nebraska.
Yeah, that's right.
Great Lakes, no times.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about just the witnesses of faith in our own life and those who have impacted our faith as we've grown and continue to impact our faith now. So we're going to start actually with our scripture. Our scripture comes from Hebrews 12. If you know Hebrews 11 is where he's talking all about all the biblical characters and how their faith led them through the various things that they went through, like Abraham, Joseph, and others. And so he calls that a great witness of faith. So here's 12:1. This is what he says after that. He says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God." And so one of the things that we love about Scripture is we can see people of faith, how they live their life, but we are also blessed that each of us has our own great cloud of witnesses of faith that surrounded us and helped us mentor us in the faith. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Do you want to start with?
Sure. It talked about running a race. And,
You always relate.
I can relate anything to track and field. I did it for a long time. But I think sometimes when you look at something like that, and anyone who's ever ran anything can tell you that the people cheering for you mean a lot more than you would think. Because there is nothing more heart-wrenching than feeling like you could fall faster than you're moving right now. And someone telling you to keep going really is what you need. And I think that's so true in your faith life as well. How many times just like anybody in a race, sometimes you run a great race and those cheerleaders weren't necessary because you were your own cheerleader. And sometimes that race is rough and you're tired and you're exhausted and your legs burn and you really just want to lay down and take a nap. But you gotta run this. And that's really not their antonyms. Running, napping, not the same. And so, same with our faith life. You need those people who are going to rally around you on those days you are tired and you just think, I can't take another hit right now. And to build you up and to lead you to God and point you to the scriptures and stuff like that. And so, when it comes to family, it's funny because as children, we know our parents are so critical in that spiritual upbringing.
Right.
And my parents were super critical in a weird way. I have a very weird story, and I'm not going to give you the time right now to explain it, because who knows. But as I've aged, my siblings have actually been my biggest cheerleaders. Since we've been in quarantine, my family does a Bible study
That is
And I love
every
that.
Saturday,
That is so
which is so cool. But if you knew us, you'd be like, really? And there's a lot of things that are slightly sketchy about this Bible study.
I've heard things, but I won't share.
A lot of sketchy things happen. But just as the oldest sister, I feel like it was always my job to be like, hello, welcome to my world, and you live in it, right?
Yeah.
But my brother's a director of Christian education. He is so knowledgeable. My sister, she'll always talk about a couple years ago, her New Year's resolution was to work on her faith life. And it rocks. Like, she is just, she took it, she owned it, she found groups, even at college, and not at Concordia, just Grand Valley State University. She found, like, a way to, like, connect herself into a different group. And she was in a sorority, so that leads a lot of sketchy things. And my brother, Timmy, is also just, he's a very emotional guy, so, like, he's just so good with that emotional well-being thing. And so I do think my siblings, in a lot of ways, it's been unique watching us all grow up, and that, like, my brother's the one who said, let's do this. And at Christmas time, we all read the same, like, devotional throughout Advent. I should have said Advent, my bad. And that was unique. And he even sent to like my grandmother and my great aunt and my cousins, and like we all read it. And he just offered like, here's a Google Hangout if you want to come. My granny just telephoned in and we put her on speaker. It was something
So
real
she
special.
Could contribute at least.
Yes. But I just think it is unique how families can do that and how they shift and change, because
Yeah.
if you are parenting younger
Yeah.
children or high school children, you're really the ones fueling the flame. But it's been really unique watching as us as siblings fuel the flames.
Right.
And it's cool and it's unique, because I think for me personally looking at it, like usually I'm the one who's like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And right now I'm like, I'm just here for the ride. You guys take it on. And my brother and my sister, and they come up with really deep questions, and Nate and I just answer them. And that's where we're at right now. But it's been really a unique experience. And I'm so blessed. I've always been close with my siblings for the most part. We're going to see each other very soon.
I'm excited.
So many cards are going to be played. And so it'll just be awesome. But that's, I think, a unique cloud of witnesses. And that cheerleader, have they cheered for me while I ran? Yes. Sometimes not nice things. Like they're catching you. But they also cheer me on now that
Right.
that's part of my life. So they cheer me on every day. They make me a better sister, a better daughter, a better wife, and altogether a better person. Well done, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Team Orwin going strong.
Well, and we don't talk a lot about like how people in our lives support each other or support us in our faith. I know growing up at my home church, I was related to quite a few people in the church, so they were family, but they were also church family. And so growing up, we did a lot of things in the church. And when you're growing up, you go to Sunday school, like that's a given.
Yeah.
And we would go to, we called it midweek. So every Wednesday we would have our catechism, confirmation classes. But then even after that got done, I liked the fact that the congregation members, it wasn't like, a lot of times when you get confirmed, it almost seems like it's a graduation from church. And a lot of the church members in the church, they really encouraged you to continue to be involved, not just with youth group, but my sister and I, we were involved with the adult choir. So we weren't adults, but we were welcomed in to sing with the adult choir when we were in high school. And that really kind of helped us to stay involved with church. Also, growing up, my mom and dad, it was never they never gave us the option to do things. It was always, you're going to go to church. You're going to go to the youth group event. And it wasn't like we didn't want to, but in our minds, it was never like okay, are we going to go? Are we not going to go? It was always oh, we're going. And so that was really beneficial in keeping us close to our church family, close to our faith life. And then also just being involved with VBS, as little kids, being involved with Vacation Bible School, but then helping out with Vacation Bible School after we were older. And then, I just want to give a shout out to just a couple of people that, they were there, the whole time. Eileen Zettner, she was our preschool teacher. So we had preschool that was connected with the church so Heidi and I went there for 2 years. And then it was weird because it was almost like we started elementary, middle school, high school. It was K through 12 school. But Eileen was also the music teacher, K through 12 or K through 8 K through 6. And so it was almost like, not that we followed her there or she followed us there, but it was nice that we had that connection outside of the church where we went to school. We had somebody from the church there that, we were really good family friends with. And so she came to celebrate our confirmation with us. It was like just our family members were at our confirmation party, and we invited her in because she was such a big part of our lives. And we did choir with her, and when I went to All-State Choir in high school, she was one of the first people that gave me a congratulatory gift. I just remember getting that from her. And then, graduating and going to Concordia, we still would be in contact with her. And she retired from teaching this year. So props to her for retiring at this crazy time. And then another person that he always asks about us, even when, you know, we haven't visited our home church for months, is Walt. He's a semi-truck driver at our church, and he always asks my parents, like, what we're doing and how we are, and he always talks to us whenever we go home for church too. So it's always nice to like just have that connection with different people. You haven't seen them forever, but they still care about you. And you know they're thinking about you too, because they're always asking them, you know, my parents. And so just to have those relationships, I've really valued those, you know, that came from my home congregation church. And there's other relationships, you know, that I have now with the church that I'm involved with at St. John, but it's always nice to have those other relationships you can reflect back on, and it's almost like you want to use them as an example and see like how can I set that same type of example for someone that I see at my church now.
Yeah.
So
Well, Heather, I think you bring up a really cool point. I was very blessed with my church family growing up too, and we don't realize these people we're impacting every day.
Right.
And these, especially as a teacher, like these kids are going to grow up, and some of them will hear my name and will cringe or like write a thesis statement, but some of them also will look at it in a completely different way. And it's not just me as a teacher; it's everybody in our church. You don't know who they're like looking up to and what they're seeing, and it is a unique situation.
Yeah.
And what a blessing, because
Right.
you know, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It took like 3 villages for me, but we just picked them up on our way.
And I'm going to take on that relationship aspect, because I think that's the hugest part that a church family can bring to it. So you grew up in a very
Very small church.
small church.
I mean,
more
we were
family
country,
church.
country
Yeah.
church. Everyone was related to everybody. Like, I mean, we had like the Needfelts, then you had like the Streckers, and you know, so I mean, everyone felt like they were related to each other.
Right.
So, and I'm sure if you like followed
They all relate.
oh
back
yeah,
to
I'm
it.
sure they all were related to each other.
And I think that's what makes St. John's unique. Is St. John's is very much a church, just from being a transplant.
Right.
I see there are still a lot of family groups, so there is still a lot of a family church, and I have a feeling that's how it kind of started, as being more
I'm
of
sure.
a family. These
Yeah.
groups of families got together, just kind of like all Battle Creek with the Priners. But at the same time, we also, with Norfolk being so close, it's become more of a bedroom community.
Right.
And I think at St. John's, what building relationships with people who you may not know who they're related to, or maybe they're not related to anyone around you. And I think that's something that I've witnessed, that this church has kind of morphed into being willing to form relationships with people they can't pin down to this family group or that
Right.
family group.
Right.
And so I guess what I want to talk about is just how we can build those relationships, and those relationships that matter, because it's very tempting when a new person walks into church. This was my home church. I do appreciate, and I have a lot of great people who impacted my faith at my home church, but one thing my home church was not good at was welcoming new people.
Yes, I've been to one of those.
That was rough. So the way that church building is set up is that the front door, no one uses the front door, because the parking lot is by the back door. And so, of course, everyone parks
The
the back
easy way.
door,
Yeah.
and they walk in the back door. Well, the back door takes you right into the parish hall. And so when Bible study is over, like, everyone gathers at the parish hall until, like, maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes before church starts, and then you go in. And so the worst part is when you're new, you walk into that back door, and unfortunately, hopefully it's changed, but at that time when I was growing up, people would look at the person, and instead of going up to them and saying, "Hi, how are you? Welcome," it was very often a whisper, "Who is that?" Or, whisper talk, try to find that connection
Right.
thing. And I remember, even as a member of that church, how sad I felt for those people as a kid, because that's hard. I never liked being talked about, or people not welcoming me, so I always thought that was hard. So I think the people who are willing to step out and really start building relationships with people that they don't know, I think is amazing. And so when I was thinking about people who have impacted my faith while I've been here, I'm going to call out some names. There's been a bunch of you, and I'm going to forget someone, and I apologize. You all have been very precious, but Sherry Warner.
Oh, Sherry,
Always.
my best friend.
Yeah.
She doesn't know it, but I tell her.
Sherry Warner is special because she is a transplant. She is not, even though there are Warners, she is not, a member of that Warner family, but yet she always is welcoming to people, not only in her kindergarten
My whole
class,
heart is happy right now.
but at church too. And one way she does that, I know when I first came, is she invited me to Bible study. And that was so good for me to know that that was going on. She didn't pressure me or anything, but it was also a good way to get to know some of the other ladies in the congregation. So just building on that welcoming attitude of, here, this is an opportunity for you. If you want to come. And it was just such a simple thing to do, but it meant a lot to me. And I think when she does that, it means a lot to other people. So yes, Sherry.
I just can't wait to go to church and be like, here, Sherry, hold Marion.
Yes.
Because I'm sure, and I've said
That
this
is
before,
huge.
I'm sure, I know that she wants to so bad. And there's been so many times we've been out, because Sherry lives right behind us. There's been so many times, like, she's out mowing her lawn, or we're outside doing something, and she comes outside, and Steven's like, just go over and hand her the baby. And I'm like, I don't want to push her. Like, I don't, but
I'm sure she'd be really sad.
I know. Heartbroken, I'm sure. But so that's like one of my big things. I'm thinking, like, when church opens, Sherry can just have the baby.
That's baby holders are great, especially when you have a congregation with young
Oh yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask them, hey, do you mind if I hold a
Right.
kid for you? And you might be surprised that they might take you up on it.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be afraid to ask. I find myself, that's one of the things I struggle with, because I'm kind of shy, is that whole like stepping out there and being like, hey, I want to help you.
Right.
How can I help you? But I should be more bold just to ask. Another person I want to give a quick shout out, there's a load, I'm sorry, is Natasha Anand.
Another one. I love you, Natasha.
The thing about Natasha that I am always impressed with is she doesn't know a stranger.
No.
And she's always smiling, she's always happy, even though she's wrestling three boys.
I
I
don't know
mean,
how she does it.
But she always has a smile, and she always has time to say hi, or
Mhm.
how you doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think, wow, what a great way of making people feel connected.
Mm-hmm. And she is from here. I mean, like,
Yes.
I think if I remember correctly, her boys are 4th generation at St. John.
That's
Like her
great.
grandma went, her
Yes, I
dad
think
went, she
so.
went, her boys went.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I think
So like Natasha's a great example of like small
Yes.
towns, big heart, because she loves everybody.
Yes.
I love that girl.
And,
Well,
and her hair.
family in general is a very welcoming family.
Yes.
And Tammy, her mom, who is so sweet, and
Yeah.
they are very willing to welcome the quote outsiders.
Well,
I
and
don't know what
sometimes
we'll call
it
that.
feels like
We're the
it
greasers,
feels
they're
like,
the socials.
like when you do go to different churches, and there sometimes can be churches that are like, oh, they're new. I don't know if we can, like, not to say that they won't accept you, but it's hard to throw new people into the mix and try to get
Yes.
them to fit into what you'd say is your normal church experience,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, again, if you are that kind of person, Mary Ellen Swim, and also another very kind-hearted, wonderful woman who is very willing and likes to talk to new people. And there's so many more of you. I know I'm going to miss someone, and I apologize. Another family or couple who they are a riot. They're just the greatest couple, and that's Brad and Patty Priner.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, you guys. Brad doesn't know a stranger either.
No.
He will talk to anyone, even at where were you?
We were at Walmart, and Nate and I both were like, we don't know. Okay, just keep walking. We figured it out later. I called Natasha and I asked her, who was I talking to?
But that's what I love about them is they know they know you're a person
Right.
from church,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not doing it in a negative way. It's like you're a person from church and I want to interact with you.
Mm-hmm.
To
And they
get to know
also
you. Yeah.
also have grown up. I know they went to the church out in the country for a while. At least Brad did. I think Patty went here for quite a while. So I don't know all their backstory, but they're from Battle Creek area anyway. And so just that kind of welcomeness and willing to talk
Yeah.
to anyone, even out at Walmart or whatnot.
Yes.
And so, and then just they're an extremely giving hearts.
We have a lot of encounters at Walmart with the Venter family.
And their hearts. Anyway, so I was talking about when we talk about our church family, I know one of the crowds that can be hard when you're new is the older crowd. And it's not because they're not sweet or
Right.
kind or loving or anything like that. It's just, it can be intimidating for younger, especially younger people. And I know for me, some of the people that really made a difference when we came here were like Suzanne and Bob Buckendahl. Were super sweet and just welcoming, and that was really neat. So I'm going to give them a shout out. And then there's this lady in our congregation. She is an encourager, and that to me, especially having a husband who's the pastor, it has been absolutely the best thing in the world. And her name is Lois Kilgore, and she sends the sweetest letters and notes to my husband, and she never tears him down. It's just always positive. I'm sure she has some frustrations, just like everyone at times, but she's always very positive. And so she comes to church with her family, and she has her walker, but she is just someone who radiates joy and is full of love. And for me, that's the picture of the church. And I think that's what we all want our church to be. And I think one of the things I wanted to do some shout outs, and I apologize, there have been so many of you, and I know I've forgotten many people. But one of the reasons that I think it's so important that we focus on how we react to people when they first come to church is because it's really the people who make the church.
Oh yeah.
And so it's not always about the minister, it's not always about the praise team, it's not always about even what's offered. If your church is a church that is welcoming, that is loving, that is caring for one another, that's what's attractive to people. It's not so much necessarily all the other factors that we might think or we always want to think.
Right.
I think it really is about us and who we are, and about us being this witness of faith to everyone who comes into those doors, and then also bringing that out into our community.
And it's so nice to see. I mean, like you said, like the older generation, like they've gone through so much experience in their faith journeys that, to go to church when you're, our age or when you're Eliza's age, just to have those examples and also those other people that may have advice on, helping encourage you through maybe a difficult time that you're going through, or maybe it could be a joyous time that you're going through and celebrating with you in those moments. And so to have those people to reach out and go to church and experience those worship services together, I think that's what we're missing right now, is just we're not able to celebrate and experience it as a complete body of Christ in the building. But when we're able to again, I think maybe we'll appreciate it more.
I did get to go to church this Sunday. I almost texted you guys because I was so excited, and I did cry, and I'm not a crier, but I just bawled, and Nate's like, what's up? Like, it is just so nice. I don't even know who these people are. And they were all like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Alex's sister. I'm like, oh, I see that. Because my brother Alex and I look exactly the same. So this one woman's like 9,000 years old. She's like, hey, new kid. And that was something. That's a good example, though. Like, my brother's congregation, the earlier service that we attended, I would say we brought the average age down about 30 years. And but like they were so excited to see us because they thought we were like these newcomers, and they were like, oh, actually,
We're just visiting you.
and the woman was like, you look like someone I know. I was like, probably Alex. My brother's at DC. She goes, yes, that is it. Are you two twins? Which we get a lot. We're like, no. But yeah, just to be in church.
Right.
And to be in fellowship and to hear someone playing
Live music.
something and to hear someone talking and
live. I can't imagine I can't imagine Pastor right now just preaching to an empty, building. Like, I'm sure he's excited to see
He is, yes.
people.
Yes,
So
it was just to be, like you said, to be in church, like it was just an experience. Like I said, not usually an emotional person. And I'm just like trying not to cry, and Nate's like, "What is she doing?" It is just so nice to hear other people singing.
I think one of the things I know when I think about going back to church, and I am a hugger. I like to hug people, but I am not necessarily like
See, I was glad that
the one to initiate hugging.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, there are people like even when they call here at the library, and not like I'm like, oh, I'm just so glad to hear from you,
Right.
because we've been just disconnected for so long.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. I can socially distance, and I will socially distance,
Yes.
but I might give some air hugs because
We had to wave during the training piece, so I'm like, and
You're
Nate's
like, I don't know
no
anybody."
one knows any. Can't you have no clue who these people are? I'm like, thank you.
But
Hello.
that's the nice thing too. Like if you're all children of God, you know, and it doesn't matter if you've said hi to them before or not. Like you all know that you believe in the same God, and you're
you're gonna spend eternity with them, so you
Yeah,
might as
might as well
well
get to know
wave.
them now.
right.
So I like waved to all of them, and my brother and my husband both are like, "Why? Why is she in this room right now?" Nate's like, and Alex is like, and I'm like, "I'm the DC sister."
So we're really looking forward to seeing everyone in our church family again. We're hoping to see you all. We do need to keep to all the recommendations, not recommendations. There's still a DHM, so there
Right.
still are, actual, I hate to call them rules, but it pretty much is.
Right.
It is legal. Like, we need to keep to these things. So, let's give everyone a big hi when we get there. Air hugs if for those you really want to air hug, and just let's just rejoice. Let's rejoice that we finally get to come together again, and let's pray that we don't have to go through this again as well. And
Ever.
yes.
I'm in it. It's hard.
It is
I
really
said to Nate, remember when this was supposed to be only 2 weeks?
Right.
Yes.
2 weeks would have been great.
Yeah,
2 months, not my thing.
I know. And thank goodness we live in Nebraska, not Michigan. So
Yeah, Great Lakes, great times. Unless you're in quarantine, in which case, no time, no lake, house.
Right.
So thank you all again for joining us. Shout out, and I did forget one shout. I just really quickly want to shout out Sherry Kirby and oh gosh, I knew this would happen at some point. I've totally gone. And Sarah Tillman.
Yep.
Bless your heart. You two took me in. I'll never forget. It was so awkward. The night we came, there was the pool party for back to school. We knew no one. We had just literally moved in like the day before. And
Let's
so
get to know somebody by wearing a bathing suit.
Right.
it was totally awkward. I did not wear a bathing
I
suit.
wouldn't have either.
And I could see my kids and all their struggles with, here's your new
Right.
classmates, and they're all looking at you like, who are they, and everything. And I'll never forget Sherry and Sarah let me sit with them, and they just talked to me without any kind of, it was wonderful. So another two great ladies who are very welcoming, and I didn't want to forget you. You guys were in my story in my head, and I just passed you over with all the
Other stories.
stuff. So, all right. So thank you. We will be back next week for an interview about our experience doing this, and then we will
I can't wait.
we will let you know if there's any future ladies' nights coming up.
Yeah,
after
my
that.
mom says we should never stop, and I said, "But mom, seriously."
Monthly.
That's why I thought monthly would be good.
Right.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of vulnerability too to put yourself.
Yeah, you guys
out.
know more about me than my husband probably did when we first got married.
I know
That's okay.
we've shared a lot of our lives with you, and we're thankful to do that.
Yes.
But it is a lot. So, all right, thank you. We'll see you later.